Hey guys, we are currently setting up our next game. It's gonna be the Lawnmower Man by d4gr0n. We're currently having some technical difficulties, but it shouldn't be too long. Hang out. Alright guys, we're ready for Lawnmower.
Does it look okay? Okay, I guess it looks okay. So hopefully there's not a crazy echo going on. So give me a moment here. Kind of was trying to rush to get through that. I clearly came unprepared for this. Well, assuming everything sounds all right, someone will tell me if it's all good. Okay, cool. Looks like we're good. Everything looks good on my end. Well, let's get this going. So, the Lawnmower Man, there's some things to say about the Lawnmower Man, but to start things off, we can select between two different characters, and you know, there's really no difference. So I just opted to choose Pierce Brosnan because he's Pierce Brosnan. So with that being said, we'll get started here. In I also forgot, we're playing this on the hard difficulty, which doesn't, well, it changes a few things, but not really noteworthy things. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. So I'll just take that hit to start things off. Lawnmower Man, this game is based off of a movie under the same title. There was also a short story that also went by the same name. It was written by Stephen King, and the creators of the movie actually put him in the credits, and he didn't actually want that, so he actually sued them in court over it. The movie's actually a cult classic. I've not heard great things about it, though. And with that, we're out of the first final, or the first cyber section, and that is a great start, getting hit already off the bat. This is the first mini-boss. Sometimes this car likes to stop and some guy will just pop out and lob a grenade. I don't really understand why it happens at random, but it does. Also, you might also notice I now have a suit. This actually allows me to take an extra hit. The basic mechanics of this game is that you have a shoot button, a jump button, and a charge button. In the Super Nintendo version, you actually cannot shoot and charge simultaneously. But in this version, which is the Genesis version, you can. These sections that you see here, they are what I like to call the cyber sections, and there's a number of varied different sort of cyber sections. The next one is going to be quite different. So coming up here, I'm going to take an intentional hit because these guys have way more health than they deserve to have. And now we have another mini-boss here. Got him with 2 charge shots, so hopefully I'll get him on this cycle. Very nice. Now, it's gonna get in those portals. You have to shoot those portals to actually open them. And now we also have a gun, which is the other major variation to the cyber sections. We need this gun to shoot down 5 different Space Invaders per section. And where these Space Invaders spawn and when they spawn is completely random. I have no control over it. Sometimes they will just choose to not spawn at all. So we're gonna kind of at the mercy of RNG for these sections. There are 3 of them in total, and each one gets progressively harder because the Space Invaders like to get more aggressive with their shots. Usually in this one, they'll do the bouncing lob shot, which is pretty non-threatening. I also have a health bar in each of these cyber sections. You'll see them as the triangles in the bottom left corner, or right above my left hand here. See, that's what I mean, is that Space Invader right there just left as soon as he spawned. And that's kind of something that can also screw you over. So one more section here, and I think we're done with Cyber Warzone. Sometimes they also like to spawn just right out of the blue all at once, and that's actually surprisingly not good, because then they leave sooner and you don't have really any time to actually react. So coming up now is one of the biggest run killers in the game. I like to call him the gas station fight, and there's a lot of luck associated with him. Much to do with the fact that you can die very easily in this fight, but before that we got this van here that's going to fail to run us over, along with these two guys. And here he is. And already off the bat he shoots at me. That's usually not a good sign. You can ward him off by charge shooting. Wow, that was a good first phase. But now begins the luck full thing. You can saw right there I actually took a hit. There was nothing I could do there because the second one decided to take my only escape option away from me. And now we have this guy, who I will call Mr. Inferno, because that's probably the most appropriate. Wow, I have never seen him do that before. Usually what he likes to do is he likes to jump way to the right when he takes a hit, which is another aspect of luck, but that time he actually jumped to the left. And I didn't know exactly how to answer that. Okay, there we go. So that's actually the worst fight in the game. We actually got the worst part of the run actually happens near the beginning of the run. So I guess that's one real good thing about this run. For the most part, though, I guess I haven't really talked too much about this game, you know, from a casual standpoint. But this game, the Super Nintendo version was the first version that came out. This is the Genesis version, and it came out, I think, like a year later. And there was a number of changes they incorporated into it. This section here, Cyber Run, is one of the biggest differences. It's completely different. But much like the Cyber Run of Super Nintendo, you actually have to hold on to these you have to hold on to the turbo speed as long as you can. The rings are what provides you the turbo, and if you take a hit to anything like I just did there, you lose it. But thankfully, because we're on hard mode, they were actually more generous in giving us all these turbo rings to work with. And because of that, I guess the idea behind it was, you know, the faster you go, the harder it is to dodge all the hazards. But of course, in a speed run, we want to go fast, so that actually plays to our benefit. Oops. Okay, I was thinking I was in a different part. So unfortunately, taking that hit is going to cost me a lot, because this is the one section of the run where, or of Cyber Run, where I don't really have a turbo ring to utilize until quite a bit into the Cyber Run itself. Thankfully, we have one coming up here now, right after those bouncing triangles. And this section here with all the bobbing and weaving turns, it's pretty hard to get through without actually taking a hit. You just go too fast and you just can't really prevent bouncing off a wall and trying to keep going fast. But thankfully, again, like I said, they're pretty generous with the turbo rings here. And after these set of walls, we'll be done with Cyber Run. And we will be entering the factory. This section is actually a lot easier, although it is still kind of scary because I'm still a hit from losing a life. Kind of had to take it slow there because that jump's actually a lot harder than it looks. This guy here, I'm just gonna wait here, shoot all those little guys. Very easy to lose control of that fight, but yeah, did it just fine. Sorry about my phone. Okay. So, unfortunately, I just, Oops. I'm actually gonna open that up. Try and collect some CDs. So I accidentally despawned the ring weapon, and that's sort of something that can happen in this game. It's one of the major reasons this game's kind of bad. You can actually, depending on where you charge shot and shoot, you can actually completely get rid of power-ups, and you can just cause things to despawn. And especially things that you don't want to despawn, like that ring weapon I was talking about. But don't worry, there's going to be other opportunities to get the ring weapon. It just won't be for a little while. Come on, kill him. Okay, wow. That was kind of scary. This run can actually, it can be pretty easy to die when you don't have the firepower to stacked up on you. So, because you can actually shoot and charge shots simultaneously, certain weapons in combination with the charge shot kind of make you into a walking death machine. And one special weapon that I need is called the ring weapon. It got a major damage buff in the Genesis version. Unfortunately, it's not quite as strong in the Super Nintendo version. And speaking of the Super Nintendo version, this is actually a fight you can skip in that version, which is probably another big difference with this version. It's just not broken like Super Nintendo's version. You can actually skip that fight, and but you can. There's another little interesting thing here. There's a whole bunch of enemies here, but I actually despawn them just by simply shooting and holding the charge shot. All right, so coming up is a jump I'm probably going to get hit doing. Yeah. So unfortunately, when you have the suit there, you jump too high, and it actually makes you clip in the ceiling. It actually stops your momentum, so you actually can't get over that by doing a full, the highest possible jump. It's kind of stupid like that, but that's fine. We had the suit, so we actually didn't lose a life for that. So that's kind of how the suits work in the game. As long as you have a suit and you get hit, you don't lose a life for it. But if you do take a hit without the suit, you do lose a life for it, and this is important to know because you do not have unlimited lives and unlimited continues. So if I actually game over and lose all my continues, the run is actually dead. It's over. I actually have to start from the very beginning. So far, I've lost a continue. I should have at least one more. Thankfully, though, now we got the... Whoops. We got the ring weapon, so now all is well, as long as I don't lose it later on. So here's Cyber Warzone 2, and just a nice little trick here. Okay, that's fine, I'll take 4. So if you shoot in that little corner there, you actually can get 4 free hits there. I don't know why, but it's the only consistent part of these war zones. Which is something I'm kind of thankful for, because this particular Cyber Warzone has 3 sections, and we have to go through those 3 sections twice over for a total of 6. So the Space Invaders here can be a little bit aggressive. I have to be a little bit careful since it is a pretty long section. Whew. Yeah, and you can very easily miss your shots. Also, try not to pay too much attention to the mountain that clearly is missing sprites on the left there. That's just kind of just showing that it's kind of a bit of an unfinished game. Yet another reason why it does belong in the marathon. Oops. Wow. Okay, that actually was all right. So we got one more little section here, and then we'll And then we just got a couple of mini-boss fights to go through. And then we'll be done with the factory and moving on to the shop, which is the final section of the game. Oops. Forgot where I was again. So, the fact I don't have the suit here is kind of problematic. This fight here with all these bees, they can turn into a bullet hell situation. Pardon my language, but depending on their pattern, they can just give me a completely undodgeable pattern, and it is not good if they if I take a hit here. Well, actually, it wouldn't be the worst. So, yeah, coming up here, actually, I'm probably, yeah. All right, that's fine. I got my suit. That's the most important thing. There is another ring weapon coming up here. And just quickly grab it. Perfect. So here's our last mini-boss of the factory. This is gonna kind of just chill out at the bottom and try to shoot us down there. And then we quickly finish him off. That's another mini-boss you can actually skip in the Super Nintendo version, but no such luck in the Genesis version. However, in the Genesis version, we do get to skip an entirely lengthy auto-scroller involving a motorcycle. And you actually probably saw I just got transported straight to the shop there. So an entire fight was skipped, and as well as that motorbike section. So you might think that this version is much faster because of all the cut content, but sadly, this is not the case. And there are 3 reasons for why that is. The first is because all these cyber sections are double the length of their Super Nintendo counterparts, effectively increasing the length of them. And that includes the lengthy Warzone sections. And I'm trying to remember what the other reason. Another reason is not one that's apparent yet, but it's towards the end of the run. Oh, and the third reason is because, again, the game's just not broken enough. There's no real big skips. I'm gonna take this part a little bit carefully. Just gonna kill everything that's in my way. And this is kind of what I mean when when I say I'm a walking death machine. Pretty much every enemy in the game just can't stand the firepower that I contain, and they just get destroyed before they ever become a true threat. So, right now we're on to Cyber Egypt here. This part tends to be pretty tricky if you don't know how the layout is. It's a pretty short section, and after I'm done with this section, we have a brand new enemy that, thankfully, because we have the ring weapon, we can actually potentially one-cycle. So let's see if we get it. Actually teleports randomly. Got him. So yeah, as long as you release the charge shot, you know, not too early or too late, you can actually kill him pretty easily. I'm actually going to forego that life. I'm actually doing pretty good. I haven't really lost to continue since the first one. So now we have our familiar fight here with the bees. And they're giving me a good pattern. Wow, very good pattern, in fact. Actually gonna take that a little bit safe. Yeah, there's a bunch of refights here. Actually, I have invincibility. That's actually pretty lucky. Gonna actually pop that. That is the magnetic pulse there. It's an explosion that does a lot of damage. It actually cleared out and did a lot of damage to this guy. And we want to kill that right side last because you have the filing killer cabinets there. Because, you know, why not, right? I mean, you had the killer vending machine, you had the killer bees. You know, why not the filing cabinets, right? So now we're on to our final Cyber War Zone, and this is probably the scariest one because, again, the Space Invaders get very aggressive here, and they tend to do the beeline straight shot right at you, which if all 4 hits connects, it will actually drain pretty much all my life, and it becomes a one-hit kill situation, and that's not a situation you want to be in. So I just took a lot of damage there, and that probably means I'm going to end up dying at some point in this, but I guess, though, if I just keep moving, I probably will be okay. I missed him. Okay, so that's 2 down, I think. Oh, maybe that's 3. I'll just keep moving here. Yeah, you can see how many of those just got fired at me. You just gotta keep moving. That's how it's mainly done. All right, that was it. So we're doing just fine. This run's gonna reliably finish. That much I can guarantee. And there goes the scientist. That's the last scientist we face. There's one more cyber section now after this one. Well, technically 2, but I'll talk about that later. Whoops. Come on, let me in. So, welcome to Sector Z, where I'm proceeding to take a hit right away. This, its actual name is Cosmic City, and it's pretty dangerous, but as long as you stay to the low ground, you can avoid taking hits. And really, there's only one type of obstacle that will actually get in your way from down low. The main thing just to know with these cyber sections is it's actually pretty easy to lose control of your movement. You have to be pretty liberal with how long you hold a direction and let go of it. But that's that section done, and now we have just one final section, and sadly, this is the longest section of the run. This is Cybertube, and if you get dizzy pretty easily, you might want to do something else for the next 3 to 4 minutes. And my phone is going off again. If I can actually try to stop that. Oops. Now we'll just toss it over there. Don't worry, everybody. I got control of the situation now. Right, so Cyber War Zone. This is the third reason why the Genesis version is just unanimously slower. Again, like I said, it's a 3.5-4 minute long section, and there's no turbo rings to speed you up. So you actually can't make this section go any faster than what you're seeing now. So, you know, hopefully you all will be okay after this. After this section, though, is the final boss of the game. I mentioned there was a fight that was skipped earlier. It turns out that fight actually wound up being the final boss in this version. They actually took out the final boss in the Super Nintendo version, which I believe went by the name of Zorn. Or as I guess he called himself, the Doom Player. It's a very nasty fight, which we thankfully don't have to do. Instead, we got to face Job as the final boss, which I guess lore-wise is, that makes this the better game. But, there was a time when I used to really hate this fight. But thankfully, all those aspects, okay, so I used to think that the health that I had entering the final boss here, this Job fight, was entirely random, but it turns out that your health depends on how many lives you have entering the fight. So we'll see how many lives we have remaining as we enter the portal, and I believe that is 2. And if it is 2, that means we're going to have a health pool of 3 ships. Or I call them the ships because that's exactly what it looks like on the bottom right side of the screen there. You can kind of see it already over there. That's my health bar for this section here. Also, these pack of enemies you can actually kill to get more life if you're actually low on life. and your reward for killing, at least I think the majority of them, is a full ship of health. Sometimes they don't drop in. That's always nice, right? You kill a pack and then they don't drop health. Thankfully that didn't happen here. So it's just this final section here. Just got to stay within the track, the walls here. And after that ends, we will be exiting Cybertube, and you'll all be freed from this awful part of the run. All right. So here we go. Joke fight. So we have 2 lives that should give us 3 health. This fight tends to be pretty rough, as you're gonna hear here. Sorry for anyone who's actually who's listened to this through headphones. Turns out that just by simply mashing, you can actually get through this fight a lot faster. Of course, getting the rhythm down can be pretty tricky. This entire fight is all about bobbing and weaving and just trying to prevent... it's all about just trying to prevent Joe from getting too close, because once he gets too close, it becomes almost impossible to dodge him without taking a hit. And already my arcade style button mashing is not doing it for me, so it's time for the single button mash. As you can tell, this is a pretty exhausting fight, because again, we gotta get rid of all of these, or we gotta turn all these green hexagons red. Okay, back to this. The mashing is not doing it for me anymore. Oh, he's up close. Yeah, this is what I mean. If you let him get too close, he's just gonna get a free hit on you. Alright, we got one final one though, so it's gonna kinda rely on the single button mash here. Get out of here. Perfect. Didn't even take a hit the last part. That's usually the easiest one to actually get hit by, and with that, that ends the run. Wow, 25:58. Very nice. Very nice. In practice earlier, I was getting consistent 26s, so that's been my best run of the day. Pretty exhausting final fight. Pretty happy with that result. Obviously, I messed up some parts, including the factory. Ugh. But yeah, that is the Lawnmower Man. Sorry to disappoint you all. There is no lawnmowers to be found here. The reason why